Hi and welcome to this Sonic Academy tech tip. Today we're going to be showing you how to make a kind of rolling techno bass line but from sampled percussion sounds. So yeah, the main point of this is that rather than a synthesized bass, you can sometimes get more interesting textures and things by using samples and processing them. So to begin with, we've just got a 4/4 kick going just as a backbeat. So we're going to build around that. So the first port of call, we'll add a MIDI track and drop this 808 conga sound on, which is kind of quite a high percussion sound. But if we drop that down a bit, so let's go down 2 octaves, so -24, and it's kind of a bit more in the bass registers. But as you can hear, it's A, you've got quite a lot of high end noise on it, and B is got a bit of stereo to it, like one channel slightly different to the other, which is less than ideal for a bass sound. So first of all, we'll put a utility on there, and on the stereo box here, just try both left and right, which routes either just the left side to both channels or just the right side to both channels. And usually if you've got a sample like this that's a bit lopsided, one will be stronger than the other. So let's try left and right. Yeah, right's the one with a bit less noise on it and a bit more solidness. So we'll go with that. And then of course we need to get rid of a lot of the top end. So just turn on the filter in simpler, low pass 24, and just filter it down like that. So that's sounding a little bit more bassy now, so let's program a pattern for that one. Okay, so that's kind of a good little backbeat. What you want to do really when you've got your first sound like that is to leave quite a few gaps in the pattern, because we're going to pick 2 or 3 other sounds to work around it to make sort of a complex bass. So you don't want your initial pattern to be too busy. So that's got a few gaps in it. So that's kind of turn it up a little bit. That should be a good start point. Yep, sounds good. So let's get another MIDI track. And that was quite a simple sound, you know, quite a nice solid tone. So let's then go for something a little bit more complex. Let's pick something from a loop. So we've got this ethno loop here, which, as you can hear, is a lot more a busier loop. So we'll drop that onto this MIDI track, and just using the sample start on simpler, just try and pick out an interesting note. It doesn't matter if you've got a bit of background noise and things on, because we're going to really filter this quite heavily. So that's nice. It's just finding sounds that are a little bit more complex rather than just a simple single note. So let's get the start point nice and tight on there. That's fine. Volume up a bit, and as before, filter it down. And you can see the meters here. It's again got a little bit of stereo to it. So do this thing with utility again. Left seems a bit stronger on this one, so we go left. And again, program a pattern. Usually it works best to sort of fit it in between the gaps, although sometimes them being over the top can work as well. So let's do something with this one. Cool. Yeah, that's sounding like the kind of thing we want. So you can hear that it sounds tuned roughly right. I mean, for these kind of rumbly techno things, the tuning, just if it sounds right, it is right, really. You don't need to worry too much about the specifics of it. But as you can hear, it contrasts the other bass sound, so it makes the whole line a little bit more complex. Okay, so let's now find one more sound. So again, insert MIDI track. And back to our browser, and we'll use a rim shot sound this time. So quite kind of a digital sort of a woodblock rimshot kind of sound. So let's have a little play around with that. So that sounds a good note for it there. And again, just kind of fill the gaps really. Sometimes it can work well if you find a note. This seems to sound right on what's G on the keyboard, but sometimes an octave can sound good as well. So again, that sounds quite nice. So as before, I think this sound looks like this is actually mono, so you don't need to worry about utility. But then if we drop the low pass onto it again, maybe try a bit of res on this one to pull a bit of frequency out. Yeah, that kind of gives it a little bit more of an interesting tone. And then a good thing to do to tie all these three sounds together and make them sound more like a sort of coherent bass is to group them. So select all the three channels there by holding down Shift whilst clicking the first and last, and then Command G or Control G on PC, and that will group them. So then we can kind of level these together a bit and add a little bit of processing, maybe some further filtering and saturation to just tie them together and make it sound like one bass line. So let's have a go at that now. So on the group, let's add a little bit of saturation of some sort. So saturator, and the analog clip, the first type, is actually usually quite good for this kind of gentle overdrive. So let's turn that up a little bit. So that kind of ties them together a bit. Turn the output down so that it doesn't become too loud. That's kind of sounding more like an actual bass line now. So then maybe a little bit of dynamics. So throw a compressor on there as well, and just do a little bit of gain reduction, pretty gentle, just again to level it out, tie them together, and then level that against the kick, and we're about there. So that's sounding pretty good. Let's just throw a little techno loop in there just to give you an impression of what it'll sound like in a track. But yeah, that is how to make a techno bass line from percussion samples. Obviously, you can add more, use less, whatever, but you know, just those general techniques are a good way of making interesting textured techno bass lines. So I hope you enjoyed the tip, and we'll see you next time.